Did anyone else also grow up believing that one of the main things that you should strive towards in life is to find that one person that you're going to marry? And that once you find this one person, you're set for life. You've made it, you don't need anybody else, you're going to be happy forever, and you'll never feel lonely again. And then you get into a relationship and it's not what you expected. You still get lonely sometimes. And then you start to think,
well, this isn't what I was told it was going to be like this whole time. Why do I still feel lonely even though I'm in a relationship? Is there something wrong with my relationship? Is there something wrong with me?
if this sounds relatable at all to you, I'm going to tell you right now that there's nothing wrong with you. And there's everything wrong with the way that society puts romantic love on a pedestal. We've all been taught from an early age to see romantic love as the only love that matters and that we should revolve our lives around it. And because society is so hyper-focused on romantic love, we often neglect another form of love that we need to be happy and survive, and that's platonic love. There's really not much conversation about the importance of platonic relationships and friendships. And friendships are often seen as a secondary relationship to romantic relationships. Like, why is there a Valentine's Day to celebrate romantic love, but there's no equivalent to celebrate friend love? So it's February, it's the month of love, and right now everyone has romantic love in the spotlight, but I wanted to give platonic love the spotlight that it deserves this month because friendships are such an undervalued and under talked about relationship, even though friendships are just as important for our happiness and can be just as intimate and intense and deep as romantic relationships. So in the spirit of the month of love, we've got a 4-part series on friendships this month. We're going to be covering a lot of juicy friendship related topics, from some myths about friendship that are keeping us lonely and how to unlearn them ASAP, friendship breakups, and how the heck to make friends as an adult. So if any of these topics interest you, make sure to subscribe so you can stay tuned. But this week, I wanted to dive deeper into the dangers of these societal messages that prize romantic love over platonic love, and how our lives would be so much better and how we'd actually be so much happier if we valued our friendships and approached them just as intentionally as we did our romantic relationships. Bottom line, if we don't have good, close, genuine friends in our lives, whether we're in a relationship or not, we are bound to feel really lonely. A lot of us tend to look to that one person, our partner, to single-handedly cure our loneliness. And actually, loneliness is cured by having friends, not by having a partner. And there's a psychology professor named Dr. Marissa Franco who talks about how there's actually 3 different types of loneliness and that they all need to be fulfilled individually for us to feel whole and complete, and that only one of these types can be fulfilled by a romantic partner. So the first type of loneliness is intimate loneliness, and this happens when we don't have a deep, close relationship with someone who we have mutual trust and love with, and who we feel comfortable being our true and authentic selves with. This is someone who we'd call if we were in a crisis, and we know that they'd respond and come to our rescue. And this is the only type of loneliness out of the 3 that can be fulfilled by a romantic partner. But it can also be fulfilled by a really, really close friend. The second type of loneliness is relational loneliness, and this happens when we don't have a broader friendship network. So not necessarily your core friends, but friends that you wouldn't mind going to a concert or an event with, or catching up with over coffee every now and then. And the third type of loneliness is collective loneliness, and this happens when you feel disconnected from a larger group or a wider community, people that you share share a common interest or goal or purpose with. So this could be coworkers or people you volunteer with or people in the volleyball league that you play on. So when we can separate loneliness into these three different types, it becomes very clear that we need a lot more than just a romantic relationship to not feel lonely. We need a whole community of friends. And I love this quote by Esther Perel. She's like one of my idols. If you don't know who she is, you're seriously missing out. But she says that you should not ask one person to give you what a whole community should provide. This is just a recipe for disaster, okay? It's not good for you, and it's not good for your romantic relationship either. It's not good for you because when someone only has one relationship in their life, it makes their emotions and mental health completely at the whim of that one relationship. And every relationship, even the healthiest ones, are gonna go through conflict that shake us up a little bit. And having friends who we can lean on for support during those times is gonna help us to weather those storms so that they're not as stressful for us. And it's not good for your romantic relationship either, because that's just way too much pressure to put on one person to be our
best friend who we do everything with, and our advisor, and our manager, and our therapist, and our cheerleader, and our caretaker.
Like, that's just so straining on that relationship with that person. And that would also be considered codependency at that point, which is not healthy either. We need a variety of people to play different roles and fulfill different needs in our lives so that we're not putting all of that pressure on one person to be our everything, because that's just not possible. And something that Dr. Marissa Franco also talks about is how there's actually research now to show that when we make a new friend, not only is that good for our mental health, but it's also good for our partner's mental health. So that means that strengthening our friendships also strengthens our romantic relationship. It's getting dark in here. One second, let me change the lighting a bit. Okay, that's slightly better. And our girl Esther Perel also talks about how friendships actually bring us more joy than our other relationships, because friendships are unique in that they are a free choice relationship. There are often way less expectations and responsibilities in a friendship. Like, we don't have to talk to our friends about doing taxes or who's gonna get the groceries this week or whose family dinner we're gonna go to this weekend. And because there's no contract in friendships like there often is in romantic relationships, and because we often have a lot more choice in who to be friends with, those friendships then become purely about pleasure and about enjoying each other's company and about being truly compatible with each other. Bottom line, friendships matter. We need true good friends if we want to be happy and healthy, whole and complete people. And there's so much talk now about the rise of loneliness around the world and how loneliness is becoming a public health issue. Like, did you know that the UK has its own minister of loneliness? Like, this shit is serious. And I think if there was more talk about the importance of friendships and how learned about how making and maintaining friends takes just as much energy and effort as a romantic relationship, I think there'd be a lot less loneliness around the world. So my main hope with this friendship series that we're going to be doing this month is to hopefully help anyone out if they're struggling in the friendship department and make it a lot easier for us to either make a new friend or improve and deepen our existing friendships. And there are so many myths and misconceptions about friendships that we either pick up on TV or at school as kids that make it a lot harder than it needs to be to have good quality friendships. And we are going to be debunking these myths in next week's video so that they're not getting in our way anymore. And until then, let's continue this conversation in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on this whole valuing friendships and romantic relationships equally thing. As always, I hope you're staying well, and I will see you next week. Bye.